So we want to just create a simple model to sort of recreate that inundation layer, inundation zone from last week, but we're just going to do it a little bit differently to get a bit more nuance. So let's go to new model on this PA risk assessment updates toolbox, and it's going to open a blank model. So our first task is to use the Euclidean distance tool that I introduced last week. So we'll just drag this water bodies layer in here, go to geoprocessing, we'll just search for Euclidean distance. Don't have to type too many layers to get it to come up. You drag it over here and you see there's a handful of outputs. So let's just bring it in, set the water bodies as the input, and then just accept all the defaults and go ahead and click run it, let it go, right click, add to display, and see what you get. So this shows us the distance of everywhere from the water bodies layer. You notice the highest distance is like 4.5 kilometers. But one thing we'll note is that it's not super useful because it's just restricted to the bounding box. That's the farthest north, south, east, and west areas from the water bodies layer, right? Not super useful because, like, what about this area, right? It might be close enough and low enough elevation flood, so we want to do something about it. It's easy enough to change. So all we need to do, we can bring this PADEM layer in here too, because we're going to use this again in a minute. But if you double click on Euclidean distance, these geoprocessing tools in ARC have a whole bunch of different parameters we can set. Most of them are a bit complicated, but if you go to environments, come up with a whole bunch of other options. We don't need to worry about most of these, but one that we do care about is processing extent. If you click this little eye that comes up, it'll give you options for what you can do with different things, right? Notice it just says here default, but we can change this, right? And so we want to set this as same as a given layer, right? So we're going to set it as the PADEM project raster right there, right? So if you set it as that, it's going to give us these bounding boxes. So you can click OK. And then we want to rerun the model. So we click validate and then run it again. And then just look at how the distance output has changed, right? Now it gives us the full extent to match the output of the extent of the PADEM raster.